All right, welcome to today's episode of Leveraging to Build Wealth. My very special guest today is Byron Thomas. We're in for a nice treat here. Byron, he's a retired Army soldier. He was in for 16 years, 10 months, and 8 days. No one's counting now. And he's also part of a very special group in the mortgage community called Vetted VA, which is a true service-oriented organization to help veterans, and it's tied to mortgages and different kind of questions that we have there. We'll dig into that a little bit. He is a an awesome father. He's got a cool dog that's always with him on his different videos that we see on social media, and he's an incredible mortgage broker with Clear Choice Mortgage. You're going to find that those who have the opportunity to do business with Byron, you'll find that very easily that they are very well served. They're in excellent hands. And with that, Byron, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and bring us into your life. We'll go from there.
Well, I mean, yeah. So hey y'all, I'm Byron. I am a retired veteran. That is the biggest part of me. I was born in Seattle, grew up here, love Seattle, and I left to join the Army because there was nothing here for me. And I got talked into, well, I didn't get talked into. I met a dude at a car lot that worked with me when I was like 19. And he was like, bro, you're big and strong and you could go be special forces. I was a Ranger, this, that, and the third. Albert Puchalovskevich. I will never forget this man's name. He sold me the old school Ranger world, the desert phase in Utah, all of that stuff from Ranger School. Gassed me up and I joined the Army. Like, my grandpa was an MP for a very long time, and he was like, dude, you need to get out of here. Like, you're not doing nothing. You're just hanging out with your own apartment and working. You need to leave. And he was like, there's an adventure out there. And then Albert gave me like, you should go blow shit up and kill people. And I was like, this sounds amazing. And no kidding, that summer I left.
That's cool.
Like, that was as fast as I joined the Army. From that point, I got to do basic training Fort Benning, Georgia, came back to Fort Lewis, was in OIF 3. OIF 3, I don't know, they all kind of run together. I was part of the Mosul Chow Hall bombing,
Yeah.
the Fallujah year. That was my year in Iraq. We came back home. I moved to Germany. I did a year, or I really did 15 months in Baghdad after that. Then 2010, Afghanistan, and then 2000 and I don't know, 13 in Afghanistan. And I got to be honest, I got to do the coolest shit the Army could hold. I was a combatives instructor. I was part of the shooting program on JBLM. I was on Fort Lewis. They have a striker academy, right?
Yeah.
Because people come from the Army in all different places, and you don't know what you don't know if you've never been on a mounted infantry crew before. Yeah. And we would teach E4s to E7s striker stuff for 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Oh, that's fun. Before
they went to their units, and they would understand motor pool Mondays and how big of a pain in the ass it is, you know? Yeah. Then after that, I don't know, I medically retired in 18 because concussions and PTSD and whatever things, knee missing cartilage. Yeah. And I got hired as a loan officer assistant by one of my best friends. So I've been here ever since. Like, I retired 2 weeks later. I was bored. I started college. I failed the entry test again to be a loan officer. And my boss was like, you were in the Army. You could motivate anybody. You should be a loan officer assistant. And I was really broke for a whole long year of being an assistant, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I got licensed and finally passed the test.
Nice.
Now I'm here. I'm adulting as an actual loan officer.
Dude, that's awesome. Okay. So Fort Benning, where the state bird's the mosquito. And there's something interesting when we're talking about our pre-shoot. Something happened. Some little thing happened, while you're in basic. Tell us what happened.
So I was in basic training for 9/11. I left left Seattle August 1st, and I was a month into basic training when 9/11 happened. I watched towers fall from Chow Hall and 119 Infantry, Fort Benning, Georgia, and it was weird. Like I joined the army with the hopes of just getting money to go to college, so I can continue to kind of putt around and do stuff, maybe find a career, whatever. But at that moment, like towers start falling, kid points at the screen, drill sergeants turn off all the TVs, everybody empties their tray. We spent a couple of hours in the, like really an hour ish in the bay alone. Then we get the "you're going to war, boys" speech, and the first the first wave of people left in the next 48 hours. I was here. Like I said, I was going to do something. I was going to see this through the end, and then I kind of made my way to a unit through natural army selection. Or you fail a class, you do something weird, you get sent to your unit, and then you just kind of show up as a private and exist, trying not to get in trouble, and have as much fun in your off time as possible.
Yeah. Tell me, that says a lot about your integrity, because you mentioned multiple different waves of people leaving every night. That after the towers got hit, every night less soldiers, in basic. For me, this tells me a lot about your personal integrity. It does. Whether or not you had nothing to go back to or not doesn't change the fact that you chose to stay. And I can understand people say, I got nothing to go back to, that doesn't matter. The fact that you chose to stay and honor your commitment, and then stay for 16 years, 10 months and 8 days, until you're like, all right, I'm ready to hang up my helmet. In all honesty, just a quick pause, all joking aside, I commend you for that, because it would be easy for others to say, oh, bro, I totally understand. Tap out. And a lot of people wouldn't fault you for that. But you chose a different route. And I want you to know, all things being fair, no matter what else we discuss, I tip my hat off for you, because that says a lot about your personal integrity, which also, I
Thank
think,
you.
that carries forth into a lot of different things of when you're helping your clients, as a loan officer. That tells me that if you say you're going to do something, that you're going to follow through.
Absolutely.
That truly does. That personifies that, even though, you got Sean Kemp on the wall, looking the other way on that. I was a Charles Barkley fan, Phoenix Suns and so forth. And of course the GOAT, Michael Jordan. But, I won't fault you for that. After all, you were infantry, but I love that, about you. That tells me so much about you, Byron, that other veterans would definitely appreciate as well. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about vetted VA. So vetted VAs, I'm not part of vetted VA. I'm a veteran, I'm a loan officer, but I'm not part of that organization. I know it's rigorous, and I know it has high standards. Chris Griffith has high standards for that. So for anyone tells me that they're part of vetted VA as a professional organization, now for like normal people, like veterans and stuff, who don't understand the ins and outs of that, they don't really understand or how to appreciate that. As a loan officer, I understand. It's a lot of wow. And so for someone to choose and to pay to be part of that organization, to where you're paying to serve other people, I think that is something definitely worth talking about. Like, why did you choose to be part of vetted VA?
So
His whole purpose is to help veterans. Talk about that, please.
So I joined Vetted VA because I met Chris at a 2020 Vision thing, and like in the infantry you meet all sorts of people, and you bum dips from everybody, and you become instant buddies with whoever you're bumming dips with at the smoke pit, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I met Chris, and me and Chris, like I've got friends that remind me of Chris. Like he fits in,
Yeah.
even though he was a Marine, even though he really wasn't infantry, he was an intel nerd.
Uh-huh.
He fits, right? So me and Chris hit it off instantly. And part of the reason why it mattered to me in mortgages, because when I was an NCO in the Army as a squad leader and a platoon sergeant, when it mattered,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell my soldiers about the VA loan. I had no clue about it. It wasn't on my radar. look, we're here to train, party, and go to war. And if I can get you through all three phases of that and make you a better leader and send you off to whatever, you'll figure out your VA loan some other time. I failed my soldiers. I failed my soldiers time and time again. And as with vetted VA, I can fix that. I'm no longer a squad leader. Now I'm a teacher, and I can inform every veteran that I come across of their VA loan benefits. My YouTube channel is 5% racing and 95% teachable moments about the VA loan.
Cool.
Like, that's it. And vetted VA, Chris, Nathan, and the whole team at vetted VA, that's just a method for me to reach more veterans. I love their mission. Our goals aligned. Like, I would work for that dude if I didn't have a hometown team at Clear Choice Mortgage. That's why I'm part of vetted VA.
That's pretty badass. It really is. And wow, okay. With the mortgages, you know, of what you're going into and helping with your clients, like, why mortgages? You know, like, I mean, this podcast is meant to go out to a whole lot of people naturally, because of my circle of influence is going to be a lot of people in the mortgage industry, but it's also meant to go out to further, because I'm also in the life insurance and other stuff. But it's meant to go out further. But why mortgages? What about that as an arm of serving the veterans? Because it truly is. If you make it so, what stands out about this particular industry, and why are you in it?
Well, so my boss hired me as a staff sergeant. I knew I was going to get out and go do mortgages, because she was like, "You talk to everybody at the track. You will be great at doing this job." And to be honest, I had no clue. I was just like, "All right, whatever."
Uh-huh.
And once I like got into the role as an assistant and then as a loan officer, I was like, I can make a difference. Like, this is my jam. I would have, if I didn't do mortgages, honestly don't know what I would be, maybe a teacher or something. But I once, like, because I either way, whatever I'm going to do, and it's going to be veteran based, mortgages were the biggest impact I could have on an individual soldier's life by helping them use their VA loan the best way possible, with giving them the most information, because 95% of them got a PCS somewhere, or they're going to be a second home. If I can teach them as much as possible during the month that we spend together, the next guy, or if I have to do it again, they will be that much better of a client, or they will be that much more informed about their VA loan benefits.
Now, one of the things I think is really phenomenal about the VA product is its ability to help members of the military build wealth. The premise of this channel is to leverage to build wealth, but it does it by so many different ways. Part of it's mindset. You know, earlier today, my session was with Whitney Hall, and we talked about mindset. Here, you know, I want people to understand the resources available to be able to help them, a tactile resource of how to build wealth with this. And with you at the helm of this episode, I think it's excellent, because you are so specialized and equipped to answer those questions, the real questions, you know, the technical stuff, and also, you know, is it worth it? You know, and a lot of people, the soldiers paid for their benefits by putting on the uniform, and they don't know the power of what it does. The imagery of the U.S. flag is very powerful for us, because there was sacrifice that goes with it. You know, this loan product is so powerful for veterans because of what they've done. And it's so powerful in helping them not only own their residence, which is nice. I mean, if you're gonna be paying for your housing, you might as well, own it, while you're at it. But it is truly one of the most powerful vehicles to build wealth. What aspect of that do you incorporate when you're talking with veterans about how they can truly change generational wealth?
I mean, this is the building blocks of generational wealth. Like, I didn't get to use my VA loan as a specialist, but I should have 20 years ago. You know what I mean? And if I had of, I could have bought one property then, rented it out, had some residual income, then moved to a different place, my next duty station. We could have bought another property, and I could have continued to build on that avalanche of residual income until it's time for me to like retire and then buy the current home, you know? Like it could have changed the outlook of 20 years of my life in home ownership in and of itself.
Yeah. What are you seeing as some of the biggest obstacles that you're seeing from your own personal and professional observations, and with that, like some of the misnomers? I think that would be very powerful. What are some of the common misnomers and struggles that you're seeing? And then if you can follow that up with the solutions that you have found and that you help directly with your clients.
I mean, to be honest, like the biggest solution is that people aren't really realistic. Because so I live in Washington. Our home values are always going to be high. There are lots of giant big companies. Every type of military base is here. It's all with the 100-mile, like 120-mile radius. So everything is in the corridor in Washington. And people don't understand like the value of a home here because there isn't enough homes to go around. Inventory is always super low, and there is more people with more money here than ever. So when veterans come here, they're like, I want to keep this within BAH. And all that does for people here is leave them with dumpster fire options most of the time. Unless your base are major,
Yep.
you're gonna have to you have to understand how much it's gonna take for you to be a homeowner here, and then the benefits of it once you leave this post, you know.
Yes.
That is one of the hurdles I see all the time. And like that's a conversation. That's really them. Like I can tell them, but like they have to be open to hear that. Like that people are gonna want to spend what they want to spend. And it's their budget. They got to be comfortable with it, but they don't always see the 10th effect on that on the backside of now you have a property you can pay, people will pay you top tier rent for, and they'll just pay your mortgage for you.
Yeah. Compounded.
Mhm.
And isn't it true? Maybe this is something you can clarify, but can't you have multiple soldiers using their BH renting out rooms that
Yeah.
rents out? I remember working at this S5. I was working with a soldier who bought a house, a large one. It was a 5-bedroom, 4-bath house. I mean, he bought it specifically to be a cash cow, and he rented each one of those rooms out to different soldiers to get the full amount, and he was cash flowing a ridiculous amount of money. And
That is not illegal. The VA loan,
yeah,
like, look, you're as long as you're occupying it, I'm not gonna ask who else lives
yep,
in the home with you. So you
100%.
could figure it out.
Yeah,
But
do some quick math.
yeah,
It adds up real quick.
especially if it's a bunch of single E5s with BAH that don't want to live in the barracks, but they want to live somewhere nice, it
Yeah,
works out for everybody.
yeah. And whenever you move on, you still have benefits, like when you get to a different duty station, and they can do that, and that's great for the active duty people, you know. But what about people when they get out? What would be, if any kind of obstacles that they have? What happens if they have disability? How does that impact their purchasing power and what they can do?
Disability absolutely raises your purchasing power. You will get, like, let's just look, everybody pays a funding fee unless you're excluded when you have disability. Let's just talk about that. And it doesn't have to be much disability. Like, if you got enough disability for them to say you got tinnitus, you probably are excluded from your funding fee. You don't have to be receiving compensation for anything. Like, taking care of yourself on the backside with the VA, that to get some sort of discipline. Look, we all know Uncle Sam took its pound of flesh.
Yes.
We all gave it up. We're all broke somehow. Just go to the VA and make sure that they have it documented so you can be part of the cool kids club.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we're talking about leverage here, okay, a lot of people think that they need to put 20% down with buying a house. And that's a lot of money when you're talking about doing something. A veteran, how much money do they need to put down? What's typical when you're seeing something that's out of pocket when they want to utilize their full benefits? What are your
You mean zero? That's what I'm talking about. Because when I bought my house, we paid the closing costs, but that was it. Like other than the inspection, that it's because it's for me. That was it.
Yeah. And the closing costs, especially now with the market, you can have sellers pay for, aspects of the closing costs to really dramatically bring that down.
Oh yeah. So when we bought our house, I we picked the biggest house in the neighborhood, and it was way overpriced. So we beat them down on the price, and then we wanted to get the offer. So we were like, well, we'll just pay the closing costs, and then we'll be square. And that's how it worked out.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Um, what would you say is very fulfilling for you? What part makes it like, because so here's the thing, there's a difference between passion and discipline. Passion gets you motivated, discipline keeps you through. Discipline is your process, discipline is your regiment, but discipline isn't motivation. There's a big difference, right? Tell me about your passion, and then and like why that discipline matters as far and directly relating that how that helps your clients, especially when you get like difficult files. And with veterans, let's just get real, let's get candid. We typically come with our own baggage that makes it a little bit more difficult at times.
Absolutely.
But helping you help them most because of your
I'm
knowledge.
here for a reason. I got a chip on my shoulder, and the discipline part of it is I'm here to prove it to everybody. Like my boss took a risk on me. I have a LO that is part of my team right now, and we're working on hiring our second LO. And I'm my guys. I owe it to my guys. I owe it to my boss. I owe it to my family. I owe it to the veterans because nobody helped me when I should have. I should have bought a house 20 years ago, man. Like I didn't know this stuff and difficult files. We've all been in the army. We all got divorces. We all got weirdness. Some of us have some questionable credit history because we like to party. Things happen. But if a veteran needs me to do the extra work, I don't have a problem doing that because I needed somebody to do the extra work at one point, and I didn't have somebody there to do it for me. So I'm here to do it. Like I don't have I have a complete understanding in what I'm supposed to be doing. Like this is what I'm here to do. There's no other options for me.
Yeah. And would you agree that with the VA loan, we have a lot more latitude on different things versus the traditional convention loans or even FHA loans? Uh,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of built-in protections that are meant and designed for the veteran in mind, and not just because they served. I think there's like a profiles in the military's version of they're saying, okay, all right, these are the kind of people we're dealing with. You're going to get a loan. These are the XYZ kind of provisions we need to put in. And I think that's incredible. And I don't know anybody who is happy about anything with the VA who's actually a veteran who's had experience. Like, I don't know anyone raising their hand wanting to go to the VA hospital. Let's just get real. Let's be candid, right?
I know one guy.
That's the last damn place I want to go to if I really need the help. But the big fat asterisk is, as it is currently established, the VA mortgage, the VA loan protocols, I feel are hands down the only one. And I would say there's only one thing that I would have changed, and that's eliminate the VA funding fee altogether. I think that should just be eliminated altogether, but not to go into political aspect of it. That I think that's the only thing that needs to be changed. But outside of that, it is literally catered to take care of not just soldiers, but any veteran as much as they can to take care of them.
Yeah, the masses.
Yeah, it is. It is
Yeah,
incredible.
I don't know. I wouldn't change anything about the VA loan. But I mean, like you said, the funding fee, that's kind of annoying. But if you give enough, like after so many deployments, you'll get the funding fee. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Um, it I think it was built for everybody. Like the army takes 1% of every demographic of every, like America, so it is a mixed bag, and they had to have something to cover that mixed bag of people. Because I mean, I served with dudes who had college degrees and came from money, and then there were really poor country kids that, the I got shoes and basic guy kind of folks. You know what I'm saying? Like they had to have something that everybody could use in every location.
Yeah, yeah, it's incredible. What would say, with Vetted VA, which is an incredible organization, um, you're a squad leader, so you're in charge of helping other people. You've been there for over 2 years now. What is the value of veterans of Vetted VA? And so now, granted, I don't work with Vetted VA. I have no official affiliation whatsoever with them. I just have respect for the organization. Why is it an important resource for veterans being part of that? Like, what is the benefit for someone who's listening to this, who's a veteran, who's never heard of that organization before? Maybe they're too timid about talking to a loan officer directly yet, or whatever. Like, why would they want to utilize that resource on Facebook?
Because Vetted VA it's a Facebook group, right? And it is a regulated, regimented Facebook group where there's rules for us as moderators. We have to be professional at all times. But we are also, when our duty day starts, my duty day, the squad before me's duty day ends at about 10-ish, 9:30, 10 o'clock. But my duty day starts at 4 a.m. So I start answering questions as soon as I get up and on my way to the gym. And while I'm at the gym, I'm answering questions. If you need any type of support, and it doesn't, to be honest, it doesn't matter the question, as long as there's no solicitation or a picture of your closing cost or something crazy, personal, we'll answer all your questions at all times. And loan officers and realtors, we are there to serve. There's no hesitation. That's what we do.
All right.
That's the value. Most of my friends joined after I became a moderator, but I've got friends all over America that have thrown their hat and asked questions, and because I couldn't answer the questions for them because it was specific to their country or their county or whatever. They had a loan officer in that state answering that question for them, a moderator. You know what I mean? It's a pretty awesome machine.
All right. So what I'm getting from watching and observing this is you're a pretty straight shooter, right? And you're not
Try to be.
candy coating anything. As a straight shooter, that's what you're getting. And I think that's what a lot of veterans have to really appreciate. You're not getting any fluff. There's no cotton candy with you. It's just straight, no hot air. And I think that's something that's very valuable. So whenever anyone who's in, Washington, are you licensed anywhere else or just Washington?
I'm only in Washington. If I get referrals the company's licensed in Florida, so I will be licensed in Florida here in the upcoming future. But if I have referrals, I send them to Vetted VA people I know. So to join Vetted VA, you've got to be tested, like a 90% pass rate.
Really?
And it's a lot to be able to come in and be a 3-stripe vetted, like a VVA 3. Like, you go through the ringer to actually get into the actual team. So it's worth it. And I try to only refer Vetted VA people most of the time.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to think of something. I don't know how to phrase the question. Which is odd. No one will ever accuse me of not coming to how to phrase a question. But what about 2024? Do you foresee some obstacles for veterans to be aware of, and how to overcome those obstacles that you perceive coming? Because here's the thing, you've been in the business for a hot minute. It's kind of like reading the tea leaves, looking at the bones, trying to figure out what's going on. People who've been around for a while understand what causes interest rates to go up, interest rates going down. A lot of people are talking about interest rates going down. Not that many people talk about why. What are you foreseeing for 2024 and how it's going to impact veterans, and what's your advice for them?
So everybody's calling that interest rates are going to go down, and I can see interest rates are slowly creeping down, which is a great deal. But the hard part for veterans is they're going to have to pick when they want to refinance. Either you refinance now, especially the last 2 years, I did a bunch of business. They all got rates in that 6-ish point range where they're like, do we refinance as soon as possible and then wait, or do we wait on rates to drop? nobody knows when rates are going to completely be done dropping, or if the crystal ball's going to fog up and we won't ever get a rate drop. If you refinance now, you may have to wait the 210 days, or if you refinance now, you will have to wait the 210
Yep.
days. And by that point, you may have missed the mark, or the timing in the whole situation is the crazy part. So, like, everybody who refinanced in the beginning of January, or at the end of December, whatever, 210 days, they should be okay to maybe hit that sweet spot in the market where rates are getting lower and then going back up on the other side of it. But if you are gambling on the I want to wait and see how low they get, you might miss your chance to save yourself some money.
Yeah. Now, 200 days is real. I mean, that's a government mandated time frame, that you're really locked in, even though technically you're supposed to be able to refinance. I mean, the guidelines to be able to do a new loan are pretty darn strict. You can't fund it.
Yeah.
But what do you foresee, as, people talking about these different interest rates? Not that many people, the normal person doesn't know the reason why interest rates are going down is because the economy's struggling. There's a struggle in the stock market, which brings the opposite. It's kind of like yin and yang, right? It goes to the bond market, which is what funds mortgages. For interest rates to come down, that means there's bad news happening with the stock market. That's just the reality. They don't come down for no reason. Well, that's some bad English. My English teacher will slap my hands for it, but they just
It's
don't.
true.
There is a reason why interest rates are going down. And that answer is bad economic news as a whole. And veterans are a protected class, in that regards, and when it comes to the loans. And it's great news when we hear, oh, interest rates are lower. That means we can refinance. We're going to see some savings in our monthly payments and stuff. But what kind of advice would you see just from kind of reading the tea leaves, for veterans, for whenever they're looking at it, not just like, hey, when do you want to strike to refinance your home, but what kind of advice would you like to give, knowing that, hey, there's some struggling future right around the corner.
Start planning. Like, start your plan. If your plan is to buy a home, then great. Start planning that move to buy the home, then start planning on ways to save and be prepared for I mean, I hate saying the bottom's gonna fall out. Like, I can't promise that it's gonna fall out, but veterans need to be aware that, like, things are gonna get harder and this payment isn't gonna change for foreseeably the next, what I'm saying, 36. What's the average life of a mortgage? 36 months ish or more, a little bit more than that. Like, that's what I really hope people are prepared for,
Yeah.
Because, like you said, if things get worse, rates will go down, and it'll just make it overall easier for you to get in more debt and not be a good situation.
Yeah. To the point of just and there's a couple different points that are in there, but to the point about buying a house, I would recommend without reservation that you buy sooner rather than later. And here's the reason why. Like my strength is psychological finance, not technical. Okay. So although I follow a lot of professional subscriptions that tell me what's going on with the major economic news, for me, it's behavioral finance. That is what drives my advice. And so behavioral finance is based a lot on supply and demand. When we have an army of people literally waiting on the sidelines for rates to drop before they want to go ahead and buy, they kind of forget the fact that there's a whole lot of other people just like them. And there's not going to be this massive amount of inventory that's going to flood. So what's going to happen? We're going to see what happened in COVID is we're going to see people buying and offering above asking price on the house. Now, here's something that's really important for veterans to understand is there's something more powerful than the fear of missing out. And that is the fear of missing out again. And I want you to think about it. Fear of missing out is powerful. I have a wife who struggles with it. I've got a lot of family members who struggle with it. I don't, but I got a lot of family members who I deal with who do. And that's a headache. But fear of missing out again is like a drug because they have felt the pain of what happened when they missed, and they sure in the hell don't want to miss again. And so what happens is people get a little bit more committed on what they're offering, and they mean it because they don't want to miss that shot again. They don't want to miss out. Like, man, we could have had that house that we wanted, and we saw how much value skyrocketed. Man, if I only offered $5,000 more. Oh, if I only offered 10,000 more. But they saw that property go up 50, 60, 70, $100,000. And now they're like, damn it, look what we could have had. Now these are people who've been preparing. They've been stacking money while they've been waiting. Just because they've been waiting for rates to drop didn't mean that they didn't qualify. It just mean they didn't want that payment. You know, they've been stacking money, what they've been able to, even with this inflation, you know, and they're prepared to offer more if necessary, if the deal is right. And
I think it's necessary here
it is. And I think
in
what I'm telling
Washington.
people, yeah, it's definitely there. But when you're competing against that, it's just like, hey, you need to be mindful. You're competing against these kind of people. And with the VA loans, we have a lot of freedom. And you know, when it comes to that purchase price, there's some freedoms on the appraisal. Take advantage of it now. It's better to finance something with a lower cost with a higher rate than it is to actually finance something that's a whole lot more expensive with the lower rate. Like when you know, the math works out when you look at the different values and so forth. And so if you have the opportunity now to get ahead of that curve of everyone who's waiting at the sidelines, they are waiting. And I mean, I've got a long list of pre-qualifications too. People are they're just like, you know, just maybe a quarter of a point now, you know, or a point more. And I'm trying to tell them, hey, you're competing against my own people. I'm like, I've literally have done pre-quals, and I can't tell them, you know, I'm like, just so you know, I have 3 other people bidding on the same house, and I'm doing the pre-qualification. I've done that before, where I've done pre-quals. I'm like, damn, this address looks very familiar because I did that pre-qual yesterday. You
For some
know,
reason, I know the taxes here.
yeah, and I know this exact number, and I can tell you right now, you're not going to win that. You're not going to win that outbid, you know, because I know the other person I just did. You know, that's a reality, and so it is much better financially get ahead of the wave because the wave is coming. And but also with that same point, don't get over your head, because lenders don't care. Let's get real. Okay. I'm not going to, and in speaking to veterans specifically, anyone can get value from this episode, but I don't know anyone who thought that the Army cared about them.
You're a number.
Let's get real. You are a number. Now, your loan officers and your brokers specifically, yeah, retail too. You know, when I worked as a company, I cared about my clients when I was working retail. But as a broker, you know, we have a whole lot more options. We care about getting you taken care of. But once that loan's funded, it's in the lender's hands. We can't do anything about it. But what we can do is give you top tier advice, help you forecast obstacles that are ahead, and give you the best advice possible. And so what I tell people is the lender, once they bought this loan, and you're on the books, you're a loan number. I don't care what loan it goes to, what lender. You are a loan number. Do not at all ever think that they're going to care about you if you get behind on your payments. There are going to be whatever programs the government rolls out. They're only going to do what they legally have to. Let's get real.
Same so there is some stuff where they're talking about fixing the forbearance from COVID, and like the VA has supposedly had put a pause to
whatever program of the day, the flavor of the, you know, the politicians that are going to put out there. My thing is don't put your faith in politicians.
Don't count on it. No, absolutely not.
and don't hold your breath. Don't white knuckle a purchase on a house because you're hoping and praying that in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, a year, whatever, the payment's going to drop $100. You know, don't put your faith that the lender's going to care about you. You do what's right by you. Make sure that when you're putting forth this transaction, you do what's best by yourself and your family. And I'm a big believer, you know, this goes contrary to sales 101, but if it can't pass the sleep on your pillow at night test,
the old sniff test,
you know, if it can't pass that, and I believe that's something that everyone's born with is that God-given ability to be able to say, this doesn't smell right, and if it's causing you anxiety, it doesn't matter how great the deal is. That anxiety will eat you up, and anxiety creates bad decisions. And so trust your gut, open your eyes though to see what's around. But at the same time, with all that being said, when it comes to purchasing and you're a veteran, if you're able to take advantage of this incredible benefit. And for those who are in Washington, I can't think of anyone better than Byron. This would be incredible. I'm not licensed in Washington, so I can say that with full without reservation. Because if I was licensed in Washington, I'm like, well, come talk to me, But no, without in all seriousness, though, Byron is squared away. He's excellent. He's charismatic. You're going to enjoy your time talking with him, and he's going to make sure that you are well taken care of. You're utilizing the benefits that are afforded yours because you put on the uniform. And even if you are an Air Force veteran or Coastie, Navy,
Wait, I'm serving a Coastie right now. I love those guys.
even if no, just messing. What would be a VA conversation? If we don't get to have a little bit of friendly banter with each other, but all things being squared away, you would be well taken care of with Byron. Byron, if anyone wants to reach out to you direct, give us
man,
credentials.
I social media well. So first is my Facebook. It's Byron Thomas. Look, if it's got a dog, if it's got a purple race car or a picture of me and my girlfriend and our dogs, that's me. And our YouTube. So my YouTube is called Rates and Racing. 95% VA home loan stuff, 5% drag racing, and really street car drag racing. So if you like going fast and you're a veteran, you're my people. Let's go have some fun.
You said drag racer. I thought it was a Navy thing, but we'll just pass on that one. All right. So everyone, you are in excellent hands with Byron. His team is excellent, and as you can tell, he's a good man, and well squared away loan officer, squared away soldier. God bless you, and to our next episode.